Hello everyone, this is Alex Franti or Space Metal 48248 here, bringing you my thoughts and opinion on this new schedule that has been released a few days ago by NASCAR that will begin operations in the year 2020. So let me read off a screenshot that was sent to me by Crad, my good friend Crad TV on YouTube, by the way, also known as Conrad. And let's first start off with the Pocono doubleheader. To be honest, Pocono has been really mediocre the last couple of years, so except for the spring race in 2017 when Ryan Blaney won. So to me, to have Pocono as a doubleheader, to have it run on Saturday and then Sunday, it's kind of like NASCAR saying this to us. You know, Pocono kind of really does suck balls, so we're just going to get both races over with in one weekend, so I could really care less, but my suggestion is at least run the road course for one Pocono configuration and then the triangle for the next. Like the road course for Sunday and then the triangle configuration for Saturday. And then there you go. Just to make things more intriguing and add suspense to the weekend and color. Next, Martinsville will now be run under the lights, much like what we saw in the fall race in 2017. Well, it was slowly transitioning to the night, but this will be a full-blown night race rather than just be a dusk ending. So my hypes are up for the, primarily up for the spring race in at Martinsville, because I don't think we've ever seen a night race at Martinsville before outside of the 2017 fall race, so that should be very exciting, to be honest. But one thing that kind of irks me so far, this is my first negative and gripe about the schedule, but I don't like how they took out the night race for Kansas. Unless if it's a night race on Sunday that I'm supposedly missing here. I mean, you already have a day race in the playoff race. There's no need to make both Kansas races day. I mean, shouldn't we? My idea is we should make one, if we're gonna run two races each track, or almost each track, have one operate during the daytime, like how the Daytona runs during daylight and how the Coke 0400 runs during nighttime under the lights. And then, you know, just have Kansas in the spring run in the night and the Kansas in the playoffs run during the day. Like how you could have ISM run during the night in the finale and the spring ISM race run during the day. That kind of stuff. You guys know where I'm getting at. I think you guys get the idea. And one Michigan race being night, one Michigan being day, all that stuff. Oh, and Darlington, for the first time since 2004, is getting a chase race. So that should be very intriguing right there. They will still, however, run the throwback program, which I am super excited about. I hope one day I'll get to see the throwback program at Darlington one day. I did go to a Darlington race, but that was, of course, 1 year before they started the throwback program. Maybe I may or may not go to the Darlington race in 2020. I'm not certain at all, but if I ever do, Derek Engel, if you're watching this, since I already know that you're living in South Carolina, I hope you wouldn't mind if I be a guest to your household, if your guardian or mother is supposedly alright with that. I mean, we've already met before at Loudon in 2014, so I don't see why not. I don't see why I shouldn't have some sort of I don't know, slumber party at your house or whatever. But hey, we get to feel nostalgic at Darlington. Wouldn't it be ever so fitting if I ever go to Darlington with you in the year 2021, which would be the 10-year anniversary you and I met, along with Peter, James, Zach. Well, Zach was actually later in 2013, but you get the idea. Evan, yada yada yada. Next, Indianapolis moves to the 4th of July weekend. Okay, this is another gripe I have with the schedule. I have a lot more positives than negatives for this schedule, but really, Indianapolis has been arguably one of the worst tracks on the schedule, except for like 2018 last year and 2017. Those cup races were actually fun to watch, but really, what's the fun and excitement to host Indianapolis on the 4th of July weekend? Daytona itself was perfectly fitting for the 4th of July. And anyway, to make matters even worse for this gripe and complaint I have with this schedule, why do you need a wild card race as the final race of the regular season? Why? You are putting a wild card race, a race where everyone, even the start and park and underfunded teams, could face equal grounds on the god-tier drivers. Like, say, for example, Kyle Larson, who would be consistent, yet didn't have many wins in 2020, yet a lot of 15-plus drivers would pull a win, at least 15 drivers or so, or 16, if that were to ever happen in the first 16 races, were willing to pull a win straight out of their ass, whereas a lot of the drivers, the fluke race winners, were already locked in the chase, yet Kyle Larson is looking in. And then suddenly Kyle Larson gets caught up in the big one at Daytona of the regular season finale, thus failing to make the playoffs. Seriously, you're letting a wild card race, a race where it doesn't take much to take the same talent standard levels as a race like Richmond or Bristol or fucking Loudon or Dover or fucking ISM, Homestead, Miami, and so on. Yeah, what is up with this NASCAR? Why are you letting a fucking wild card race determine the outcome and playoff field? I mean, that does not make any sense. It's so absurd. If anything, it should traditionally be it should always be traditionally a short track, or at least a track like Atlanta or a road. Road courses are a pretty wild card too, but at least a track that takes skill and doesn't have the entire field face every participant on equal grounds. That's where my negativity comes in, but alright. Next, Bristol Night Race becomes a playoff cutoff, so that actually doesn't really bother me. Bristol may get pretty chaotic, but at least it takes skill to drive there. So I'm pretty anticipated to see what the Chase Race Bristol race would bring us. I am pretty stoked to see what kind of racing we're going to get with this new playoff schedule. Darlington, ISM is the finale, which I'm going to get to later. Martinsville is the cutoff race before the finale. Bristol, you name it. And of course, Homestead, Miami, whilst it was my all-time favorite track, I am pretty heartbroken that it's no longer the race finale, or season finale, my bad. Because that always felt like the biggest climax speedway ever. It was the speedway that was the most fit for the ultimate climax of these NASCAR seasons. And now it's gone. I'll definitely have the most fondest of memories seeing my man Jimmie Johnson win his 6th championship there in 2013 with my mother. My mother especially loved Homestead, Miami. Homestead, Miami, much like me, is one of her favorite tracks, if not one of her favorite places to even be, might I add. But unfortunately, it's going to be a lot less authentic now that it's no longer the final race of the season. But to make matters even more interesting, I go to ISM Raceway yearly, primarily to visit my grandfather. Whilst my best friend, Lane Chavez, aka Hair Metal Brony Tekken 16, happens to live in Arizona himself too. So, the fact that ISM Raceway is now the finale kind of gives me an advantage for me and my best friend to see drivers win championships. So this means we could probably see our men win, but unfortunately, conversely, we could possibly see the antagonists of NASCAR win championships, much like Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, for example, as well. I would say Austin Dillon, but he's too worthless to even make it the first round of the playoffs, so I'm not going to mention Austin Dillon because he's too worthless. So yeah, Lane, if you're watching this, just imagine. You know, 2020 is Jimmie Johnson's last year on the contract, unless if he decides to renew his contract. Just imagine, you and me, seeing Jimmie Johnson win his 8th championship. But even if that doesn't happen, just imagine. Just imagine seeing humble men like Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., and so on, win championships in front of us. You and I always planned to have the most bonding of bromance memories, but now that ISM Raceway has now been scheduled to be the finale yearly in NASCAR, that kind of sets authenticity for my vacationing in Arizona yearly now. So, yeah, Homestead, Miami overall is my favorite track of all time. I am heartbroken that it's no longer the season finale, but at the same time, ISM Raceway always produced great racing itself too, even in the worst years, might I add. Both ISM Raceway races in 2018 were great, even though Kyle Busch won the 2nd race. But hey, the point still stands, so hope you guys enjoyed this little update video of mine. I just thought I would give my take on the NASCAR schedule. I am still not very keen on Daytona, a wild card race, being the regular season finale race, because you shouldn't have to face the entire field on equal grounds in order to make the playoffs if you're a wild card driver trying to make the playoffs. Wild card meaning you have a chance to either miss or make the playoffs, so which is the original term when the chase was introduced in the mid-2000s. So if you guys enjoyed this little update video of mine, peace out, and may the force be with you. Space out, everybody.